Hi, I'm Andrew Strenk with Strategic Planning Concepts International out of Tustin, California, and this is another one of our videos on our sequence of discussions about what is retail in the 21st century and where is it headed. Our original conversation was with Eris Cohen 4 years ago, before the pandemic. What is the future of retail? And we've been looking at box parks, we've been looking at food trucks, we've been looking at pop-ups, a lot of different innovations in the retail space. So today we're going to talk about ghost kitchens, another one of the new types of retail that's been spreading rather rapidly around the world. What are ghost kitchens? Ghost kitchens, also known as dark kitchens or virtual kitchens, they're definitely a fast-growing trend. Essentially, these are restaurant kitchens that operate solely for delivery and for takeout. They do not have a physical storefront. There are no counters, there are no tables, there are no chairs, there are no booths, there's no lobby area. Obviously, there's no parking either. They just don't have a physical storefront, but they are a viable retail alternative to a lot of traditional ways of food delivery. They rely on online ordering platforms and delivery services to reach customers. So you're familiar with Uber Eats, you're familiar with Grubhub and DoorDash, familiar with Rappi in Mexico. Most places in the world now, there are a lot of online food delivery services, and they tend to work in tandem with these ghost kitchens as well as with bricks and mortar restaurants. Concept has been gaining a lot of momentum over the last years because several reasons. You've got the rise of online food delivery apps, which didn't used to exist, and have made ordering food a lot more convenient, a lot easier. You've had a lot of changes in consumer perceptions about time and convenience and speed. And as a consumer changes his or her preferences in terms of convenience and speed, ghost kitchens are one of the innovations that have arisen to meet these changing consumer expectations. It also gives entrepreneurs an opportunity to test out new restaurant concepts, new food options, new menu choices, new fusion food concepts, without the financial burden of opening a physical restaurant space. Opening a restaurant is a very expensive endeavor. It's a lot of zoning and land use hurdles that you have to jump over, and a lot of often renovation or retrofitting of a space to get it up to speed for restaurant operations. So a key advantage of a ghost kitchen is that their construction costs are a lot lower and their overhead costs are a lot lower as well, because you don't need servers, you don't need waiters and waitresses, you don't need dishwashers, and so the amount of staff that you need to operate a ghost kitchen is very different than a bricks and mortar traditional type of restaurant. But on the other hand, there's some advantages that people often don't think about here. If you don't have a physical storefront, you don't have a dining area, you don't have a parking lot, so you're saving money on rent, you're saving money on utilities, potentially, you're saving a lot of money on furniture. The money that you're saving can go into better quality kitchen equipment and more kitchen equipment and more state-of-the-art kitchen equipment. And this can lead to much better food quality. Ghost kitchens can also be located in areas that have much lower rent. So you'll find a lot of ghost kitchens in industrial buildings or in industrial areas. This helps certainly keep the operating costs down for restaurants in an era of increasing inflation at the moment. Another advantage of ghost kitchens is that they're very flexible in terms of their menu offerings, and you can shift the menu offerings very quickly because the menu is essentially posted online. There's no expense in terms of printing up menus to have for the diners sitting at tables and chairs. They can operate actually out of very small spaces. They can also operate out of regular commercial kitchens that already exist. And actually, you can find ghost kitchens in food trucks. So you're actually combining two new innovative concepts of retail in one unit. A lot of times you can also find ghost kitchens in neighborhoods that don't otherwise have any restaurants at all, only industrial buildings. So you may be able to serve a new trade area that you would not otherwise be easily allowed to access if you had to build or find an existing restaurant to purchase. Ghost kitchens can offer multiple cuisines. Often you'll find 10, 20, sometimes even 30 different restaurant concepts or brands operating out of a single ghost kitchen. This allows the operator to cater to a much wider audience. It also allows for a lot more experimentation with new menu items without the risks of overcommitting in terms of products. Well, when it comes to selecting a location for a ghost kitchen or a building for a ghost kitchen, there are a couple factors that need to be considered. The space should be located in an area that has a high demand for food delivery and takeout. This can be determined by looking at data from online food delivery platforms or conducting your own market research. This means that by and large, ghost kitchens are usually found in fairly dense urban areas. They're not quite so common in suburban areas, at least not yet, and they're definitely not common in rural areas because they do need a fairly dense population nearby for them to operate successfully. The space needs to be very easily accessible for truck and van delivery drivers. This is very, very important because you could burn through a lot of product in a ghost kitchen very, very quickly, and so there's going to need to be a lot of resupply by your vendors in terms of bringing in food products for your preparation. There needs to be ample parking for delivery pickup services because you're going to be needing to deliver a lot of meals to a lot of people fairly quickly. One of the benefits of ghost kitchens is the speed of delivery. And so speed is of essence, which means that delivery drivers, whether they're on motorbikes or bicycles or they've got vans or cars, it doesn't really matter. You need to have a place where your delivery drivers can congregate and wait to pick up the meals for quick delivery. Loading docks are a plus. They're not absolutely required, but if your space has them, it is going to make your operation logistically a lot more efficient. Space needs to have adequate HVAC and ventilation and filters. It needs to have obviously enough electricity and plumbing in order to accommodate your needs of your commercial kitchen. Commercial kitchens tend to either get people really excited or get them really, really critical. I'll talk a little bit about both viewpoints here. Supporters of ghost kitchens see as a way to introduce more and more innovation into the food industry, to reduce overhead costs of operations for restaurateurs, and above all, to offer more convenience to customers. But there are critics. Critics argue that ghost kitchens create unfair competition for traditional restaurants and their communities. Well, I would argue that good restaurants don't really have something to fear, but those that are mediocre, probably ghost kitchens are going to offer them serious competition. In an era of rising wages for staff, ghost kitchens definitely are going to create some issues for some people because they obviously are employing fewer people than a traditional restaurant. And a number of critics argue that ghost kitchens also remove the social component, social aspect of dining out. But dining can still be a social engagement here. The food's going to be delivered somewhere, and it can be delivered to you if you're eating all by yourself. But it can be delivered to a party, wherever that party group of people happens to be. So whether your meal is a social occasion or not, I think is much more a factor of you, the customer, and what your preferences are, as opposed to the kitchen that's making the food or the ghost kitchen. Do ghost kitchens lead to a decrease in foot traffic for brick-and-mortar restaurants? I think the jury is still out on that because we've been seeing, if we take the pandemic out, sort of a rise in eating out and dining out as opposed to home-prepared meals in your own kitchen. And so I think our view is that the customers increasingly are wanting to experiment with more and more ways of having food, and ghost kitchens, in our viewpoint, are simply one more avenue of choice for the customer. And I don't know that they necessarily are going to hurt bricks and mortar restaurants. And in fact, there are bricks and mortar restaurant brands and chains that operate their own ghost kitchens, often under different brand names. But in order to increase market share, or in order to test out new menus, new food groups, new food combinations, new spices, they use the ghost kitchens as a kind of flexible laboratory. Despite all the concerns about this, we think ghost kitchens very much like pop-ups, very much like food trucks, very much like box parks, and a lot of these other innovations in the retail space. They're here to stay. They offer a lot of convenience. They offer a lot of speed. They make consumers the priority. And so we think this is a viable solution. The pandemic certainly accelerated the spread of ghost kitchens and has helped make them much more relevant in the market. So in conclusion here, to wrap up our little vignette here on ghost kitchens, they're an innovative and very flexible way for food entrepreneurs to launch new restaurant concepts without having the financial burden of a physical restaurant space. They offer lower overhead costs and offer a lot more flexibility in terms of location and menu offerings. So we'll see you again in our next video when we'll be talking about another food concept, food halls. So have a great day. Bye-bye.